Welcome to the Great Basin Prescribed Fire and Smoke Transport Briefing for Monday, May 4th. Currently across the Great Basin, we still have prescribed fire occurring in the pink circles across the northern half of the Great Basin, and a few wildfires in the yellow circles that have happened recently, however, stayed on the smaller side. Over the last 7 to 14 days, we continued to see some precipitation moving across the Great Basin. Over the last 7 days, it's been mainly focused over central areas of the Great Basin and up into parts of eastern Idaho, into western Wyoming, and the Sierra. Over the last 2 weeks, you can see the percent of normal precipitation on the right, showing generally over central and parts of southwest Nevada, well above normal precipitation, and even some pockets of that near to above normal precipitation in northern Utah and across Idaho. Over the last 72 hours, we have seen new snowfall in the higher terrain of Nevada and also into northern Utah and parts of eastern Idaho and Wyoming. Most of the amounts were on the light side, with only some areas reporting over 6 inches at the very highest elevations, especially in western Wyoming. The snow depth is indicated on the right, and we still do have some snow in the ground at higher elevations in the Sierra and over central Idaho into Wyoming, but very little remaining in Utah, only a little bit in the far northern portion of the state, and a few pockets down in central areas. Currently, our snowpack is well below normal, which is, again, we've been the story all winter. Really no changes to that snowpack this time of year. Here we are in May with high snow angles, longer daylight. So really any snow we get is certainly not going to attribute to our snowpack, but it is good to see at least some snow falling in the higher elevations, which will mitigate some of our early season concerns, at least temporarily in parts of May. So looking at the current weather situation, we have an area of low pressure that's near the California coast, and this will continue tracking eastward just to the south of the Great Basin over the next couple of days. So moisture wrapping around this low is causing some light shower activity this morning in this band from central California across central Nevada into Utah. And this will continue and track eastward with some showers developing to the south as well over the next couple of days. Ventilation index will remain generally elevated in most areas with the exception of near this trough axis over the central areas of the Great Basin. Looking at transport winds, that's where winds will be the lightest. We could see some thunderstorms with these showers as well, and that's indicated by some of the outflow winds here. Otherwise, we'll see some breezy southerly winds over the southern half of the Great Basin, with most of those gusts in the 20s, maybe right around 30 miles per hour, and also over parts of northwest Nevada. So you can see the mixing heights higher in these areas. Temperatures today will remain cooler over the western side of the Great Basin, closer to normal and above normal across the northern and eastern side of the Great Basin. We'll see highs in the low 80s up in southern Idaho today. Relative humidity will remain elevated where we have that shower activity in the central areas of the Great Basin. And even in some of these areas with gusty winds in the south, we will see those relative humidities drop into the teens. As we move into Tuesday, that low tracks further east into southern Nevada, and you can still see that wraparound moisture. We also have another trough dropping into the northern plains, and this is clipping parts of Wyoming and northeast Utah as well. Dispersion, again, remaining good in most areas with the exception of near that trough axis. And then the transport winds will be breeziest behind this area of low pressure with north to northwest winds over the northern half of the Great Basin on Tuesday with some of those gusts in the 40s. And then we will see lighter winds over southern areas with a little bit higher humidity. So looking at these conditions, temperatures cool a few degrees in the north as those winds pick up, and relative humidity actually comes up a bit as well. However, we will have some pockets of relative humidity in the teens. So where we do have those dead carryover grasses, that could be a concern if we do get some starts, at least just for the burning period where it's breezy in Idaho on Tuesday. Otherwise, temperatures start increasing over the western half of the Great Basin. Still some good humidity over much of Nevada into Utah, and we'll even see some areas in southern Nevada and the Arizona Strip increase in humidity on Tuesday as that low tracks across. Moving into Wednesday, we will see this area of low pressure into the Rockies. Still some wraparound moisture continuing on Wednesday for some showers and thunderstorms over the eastern areas of the Great Basin, but much drier air moving in overall as a stronger ridge of high pressure starts to build off the west coast. We will see some breezy northerly winds, keeping dispersion higher on Wednesday region-wide. And you can see those gusty winds, especially over the eastern two-thirds of the Great Basin. The only area that really will see lighter wind flow will be far western and northwest Nevada and far western Idaho. Otherwise, most of these gusts will be in the 20s, some areas maybe getting up towards 35 miles per hour in Utah, but we will have at least some showers lingering over the eastern side of the state. Mixing heights remain high. Temperatures continue to build over western areas and still remain above normal in the far north, but we will see a cooler day overall in Utah with temperatures a little bit closer to normal, but still some cooling as that low tracks across, and then relative humidity starting to drop region-wide with the exception of parts of eastern Utah and central Idaho, some areas that will still see some lingering shower activity. The 3-day forecast amount of precipitation, you can see much of that precipitation falling in California and into western and central Nevada, but stretching eastward across northern Utah as well. Otherwise, where we'll see some lighter showers or thunderstorms, minimal precipitation over parts of southern Utah and even up into Idaho, kind of remaining on that dry side with that low tracking by to our south. Otherwise, we will see good precipitation amounts, and this will be new snowfall in the higher elevations. Total precipitation will likely remain in that quarter to half inch in many areas, but on the far western side, we could see these values above 3/4 of an inch. And then the new snowfall through Wednesday as the system tracks across. Most of these areas will see light amounts in the higher elevations, but we could see several inches or even above 6 inches in the Sierra and parts of the Uinta Mountains and up into western Wyoming. As we move into later this week, the high pressure ridge along the west coast starts to push eastward and dominate. There still will be some lingering moisture maybe up into eastern Idaho and Wyoming as a system on the east side of the ridge brings down some moisture, but otherwise drier conditions region-wide. And then these dry conditions continue into the weekend. And we will see the ridge really strengthen as we get later in the weekend into next week. So temperatures really climbing with much drier conditions starting later this week, but also continuing and expanding this weekend into early next week. So something to pay attention to. We do have green up ongoing really in all areas except for maybe the far south, but we do have some dead carryovers. So as we get into this warmer, drier period, if we do see some starts, we could see some fires start to pick up in size just a bit with these much warmer and drier conditions. The 7-day precipitation really doesn't look any different than the 3-day since all of the precipitation is falling in the next few days with much drier conditions after that. And you can see that in the 8 to 14-day outlook taking us from May 11th through the 17th, showing a much warmer, well above normal temperatures. We could see some valley locations in the north really even get into the upper 80s or even 90s over western areas as well. So much warmer temperatures going into next week with those drier conditions. That concludes our webcast for today. Check back on Wednesday for the latest updates.